Oh, hello, good evening, welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from the news about Desawe Kanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Ocansey. Tonight, the New Patriotic Party announces a boycott of the Electoral Commission's decision to rerun the parliamentary elections in 19 polling stations in the Ablekuma North constituency. They insist it will not all go well in terms of the democracy of the country. We'll tell you exactly why they describe this as a shameful decision to rerun those 19 polling stations elections. The Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Tukono, heads to the ECOWAS Community Court, alleging human rights violations in the ongoing impeachment process against her. Deputy Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Dr. Justice Sremsai, reveals key details of the suit. Stay with us. Also, we continue our assessment of the John Dramani Mahama administration's 6 months into office. Tonight, our focus is on the fight against corruption. Stay with us. How has government fared? You have a say in what we say here on Ghana Tonight, and that's the many ways you can connect with us on Facebook and on X at TV3 Ghana, and the hashtag is Ghana Tonight. Let's get talking. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
Suspended Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Tukono, has filed a fresh legal action against the Republic of Ghana at the ECOWAS Community Court of Justice in Abuja, Nigeria, challenging her ongoing suspension and alleging multiple human rights violations. Deputy Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dr. Justice Sremsai, confirmed the development on Tuesday on his Facebook page, stating that the suit was filed on July 4. According to him, the ECOWAS filing reiterates allegations of human rights violations that are also the subject of ongoing cases before Ghana's Supreme Court and High Court in relation to the removal proceedings currently being undertaken against the Chief Justice. The Supreme Court has adjourned the hearing of an application filed by Nana Appiah Mensah, popularly known as Nam1, seeking to halt his ongoing criminal trial at the High Court. Nam1, the embattled Chief Executive Officer of the now-defunct Men's Gold Ghana Limited, is requesting the Apex Court to stay proceedings at the High Court until a final decision is made on his appeal. Nam1 responded to comparisons to Nana Agrada, who was recently incarcerated for defrauding some individuals.
Let's not give praise to that. Let's not give praise to that.
Okay.
We have a case to defend. Yeah. And we are doing absolutely just that. This is the beauty of constitutionalism. The very law that brings me here, compels me to come here each and every time that I'm about to. It's the same law that gives me the right to appeal, as and when, I have to. So basically, that is it.
Drama unfolded in Parliament on Tuesday when the majority leader sought to block the minority leader from asking a question using the dispatch box. An enraged minority caucus litigated the issue, forcing the speaker to suspend sitting to engage leaders on both sides in conclave. After emotional exchanges, the speaker gave a ruling that barred members of Parliament from using the dispatch box to ask questions in their representative capacity.
The invitation by the majority leader to you to deny me the opportunity to use a dispatch box to ask my question is not founded on any rule. Mr. Speaker, I've combed through the rules where the standing orders intends to make something mandatory. It says so in express terms. Just last week, when I read the business statement, they asked questions, and it was getting elongated and time wasting. You ruled that business statement period should end and we should proceed to commence public business. He led his side. They defied all the rules of this house. They stood, they stamped their feet, they made noise, and made it impossible for you to run this house until you change your decision and allow them to continue asking questions. He did that. He did that.
The New Patriotic Party (NPP) says its Ablekuma North parliamentary candidate won the 2024 elections and will not participate in a partial rerun set for July 11, 2025 in 19 polling stations. The NPP insists that their candidate Nana Ekuye-Afriyie won with a margin of 414 votes and that the EC's decision to rerun the election is unjust and lacks proper legal grounding.
The Electoral Commission, led by Deputy Commissioner Dr. Bosman, under oath went to Parliament and also confirmed same that so far as they are aware and so far as they know, it is only left with 3 polling stations at Ablekuma North. And therefore, it comes as very shocking that the Electoral Commission, the inconsistency from the Electoral Commission is a shame.
President John Dramani Mahama has declared that all members of the newly inaugurated Gold Board Task Force will operate under strict oversight, including the mandatory use of body cameras during every operation. As part of sweeping accountability measures in Ghana's crackdown, the president is promising a whistleblower reward scheme as part of a broader crackdown.
We believe that Ghanaians must be the first beneficiaries of the natural resource blessing that God has given us. So gold is just one example. We're going to make sure that in other minerals, Ghanaians play a leading role in terms of our mineral exploitation. And the time has come for Ghanaians to also own gold mines and produce gold for export.
It's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3 FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and as always, proudly brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, Sasso Insecticide Spray and Coil, Tum Precom. Coming up next, the Chief Justice, the Leadership Justice, Geto Tukono. Today, from the details that we got from the Deputy Attorney General, has headed to the ECOWAS Community Court alleging human rights violations in the ongoing impeachment process against him. We'll tell you exactly how things are playing out. There's very little detail, very little detail, I would say, redacted detail of what we do know of the release, for instance, she's seeking in this application and the suit before the ECOWAS court. But as I indicated, this is a rolling stone that continues to gather various forms of dust and as the days go by. But the suspended Chief Justice, Geto Tukono, has taken her case to the ECOWAS Community Court in Nigeria, specifically Abuja. Now, the case was filed July 4, petitioning the court regarding human rights violations in her impeachment trial. Now, this position that she has taken is not new in the true sense of the word, because the human rights violations, she talked about it, she detailed it in that press conference that she addressed a couple of weeks ago. There is also this human rights violations as well captured in an application that she also sent to the Supreme Court, and that's why my colleague Dennis Pobert, Wadam Esquire, is joining me in the studio to chronicle how the events are played out and how that weaves into what Her Ladyship Justice Tukono has taken to the ECOWAS court. Dennis, it's good to have you as always.
Alfred, always a pleasure being here.
There's very little detail we know about what Her Ladyship Justice Tukono has taken to the ECOWAS Community Court, is it not?
Precisely so, and this is because this was only made available to the public through the Deputy Attorney General, the learned Dr. Justice Remsai, on social media, where he did indicate that there's a pending suit at the ECOWAS Community Courts, which is in respect of matters that are already been litigated in the local courts. as he himself would characterize or summarize the essence of the whole suit, he simply says that he can confirm that the Chief Justice, Her Ladyship, Justice Gertrude Tukono, has filed another court case, this time at the ECOWAS Community Court in Abuja, Nigeria, against the Republic. Of course, once against the Republic, the Attorney General will be in the know.
Absolutely.
And I guess on that basis that he has the information for which he's sharing with the public. That's in the case which was filed on July 4 days ago. Her Ladyship repeated the same allegations of human rights violations which are currently pending determination before our Supreme Court and also before our High Court in respect of ongoing removal processes. Essentially, Her Ladyship argues that by her suspension, she has effectively been removed from her official capacity without a final determination, impairing her right to function and serve in a position she was constitutionally appointed to. So that is the update that the Deputy Attorney General has given to the general public by way of the move that the suspended Chief Justice, Her Ladyship, has taken in line of, in an attempt to seek a remedy. We do know this is not the first time, and that's why we are just having a recall of some of the steps that she's taken in the past, specifically those that she herself has been named as the person who is taking that particular step. So we do recall that on the 20th of May 2025, that's this year, of course, Her Ladyship filed a writ of summons at the Supreme Court. That matter is yet to be determined, and this is a matter in which she's seeking reliefs, including a determination as to the constitutionality or the lawfulness or otherwise of the procedure that she's taken through. It also talks about matters that relate to her suspension, where she makes an argument that that suspension need not be, it was not carried out lawfully.
Right.
That matter is yet to be determined. However, subsequent to this, there was also an injunction application which was heard and dismissed unanimously by the Supreme Court.
True.
That was done the same day. As in, I mean, those two were filed the same day, but determination were on later dates. We also know of a judicial review at the High Court, which is pending. That was filed on the 9th of June 2025. This only came to the attention of the public when she addressed the general public in that address, press conference, where she disclosed that per the nature of the proceedings, she feels slighted, that her human rights have been violated. She makes a case of how her lawyers were not given audience, even how she herself was searched in a certain manner. She was not allowed to attend the proceedings with family, even how parties to the suit, including herself and her lawyers, were not served copies of the petition and other documents that were necessary for that. And to that extent, she has headed to the High Court seeking a judicial review in respect of that particular matter.
So,
in essence, saying that the High Court should make a pronouncement that the whole procedure is null and void because it infringes on her rights to fair hearing and the like. And
this is still centered on her human rights.
Yes. This is
so clearly, we can infer, okay, or have an idea of what she's seeking at the ECOWAS court, which may not be very different from what is captured in here, because it's all on the lines of the violation of her human rights, is it not?
Exactly the point that the Deputy Attorney General makes when he says that the Chief Justice has says that Her Ladyship repeated the same allegations of human rights violations, which are currently pending determination before Supreme Court and also before our High Court. So in respect of the High Court, you get the sense that it is in respect of the judicial review that has been talked about, because as far as we know, the only process that the Chief Justice has before the High Court is this judicial review application, which is yet to be determined. You see that the Deputy Attorney General talks about pending matters. And of course, also in respect of the Supreme Court, even though the injunction application has been determined, the substantive matter is yet to be determined. And that, in part, will address the issue of whether or not there were violations as regards the whole process and the things that she was asking for, including to be given copies, where she says she was not giving copies and all that, amount to violation of her rights.
But, the question was So you recall, after that address, when she made a point about not being given copies, the emphasis was on the fact that, yes, the president had given her copies, correct?
Yes.
Of the petitions against her. But then again, she wasn't sure whether the copies she had was the same copies that the committee members were using for the process, the hearing process. And so she requested for the copies that the committee members were using for that.
I mean, that is spot on, because her contention right from the outset has never been the fact that she's not been given copies from the presidency, because, of course, there's correspondence between herself and the presidency.
Absolutely.
However, her contention has always been the fact that the forum before which she appears to be taken through the process, she was not served the copies that were before that committee. So she was talking about copies from the committee and not necessarily copies from the presidency.
But you are an officer of the court.
But of course,
right?
that is a matter which is yet to be determined.
Absolutely.
And when that determination is made as to whether the copies that are given from the presidency could actually be a substitute for the copies that she required before the committee, that is a matter that will actually be settled in respect of that. But she is of the view that to the extent that she did not get those copies, in a sense, it's a violation of her human rights.
I see.
And that's the reason for which she, before the high courts in Ghana, now she's taking another step before the ECOWAS community courts in Nigeria in particular. So let's continue with this, because that's not the only. So the judicial review was on the 9th of June 2025. So now, yes, we are here. July 4, we understand that that has been served. But it's important to state that in terms of general attempts that have been made to stop this process, her injunction application, which was filed on 21st May 2025, was the fifth of injunction applications to be brought before the Supreme Court, all in an attempt to halt the process.
Right.
It's important to state on record that all have failed.
So what is pending is this sixth one?
So what is pending now is the substantive matter in her own case. In fact, all the substantive matters are still pending, except, usually you deal with the injunction before they go into a substantive case. So the substantive matters are still pending, but the injunction applications have been dealt with. But injunction applications, I did indicate, seeking to stop the process, 5 of them
have all failed.
So we look forward to see what's going to happen. But we understand there's a new development on this particular matter.
Indeed. And rightly so, we're going to get into it shortly, because what we do know is that earlier today, the president, John Dramani Mahama, has been speaking about the processes, essentially seeking the removal of the Chief Justice, who is on suspension now, Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Tukono, and addressing the members of the Council of State earlier today. The president indicated that he, together with the Council of State, they're just waiting for the committee hearing the Chief Justice's petitions to submit their report, and then they'll know what next step to take. Take a look.
Your work in earnest, as the chairman of the council has stated. We've referred several things to the council for advice, mostly in respect of appointments to governing boards and other statutory institutions. And I want to thank you for the approvals you have given us and for expediting the work of government. It's helped us to more speedily than any government in the past have persons in place to begin to prosecute the reset agenda that we have. On the issue of governance, we've had the difficulty issue with regards to the suspension of the Chief Justice, and of course the Council of State was involved in a part of that process, and so we've done our part. The rest is left with the committee that was set up to come out with whatever its findings are, and based on that, whatever the consequential issues are will be dealt with.
Oh, that's the president, John Dramani Mahama there. So what is left now is he's, together with the Council of State, he is waiting for the report of this committee set up to hear the Chief Justice, the petitions against him. But if the report is submitted, then what next?
Well, so Alfred, let's start from here. So when you look at the entire Article 146, we've gone through quite the most parts of it. What we are dealing with now is the 1468, which talks about the proceedings. And this is where most of the issues came about, including the allegations of human rights violations and the like. So once the committee is done, because the 9 is very short, we need to take it up from the 8 so that we can put things to proper context. 8 talks about that all proceedings under this article shall be in camera, and the justice or the chairperson against whom the petition is made is entitled to be heard in his defense by himself or by a lawyer or other aspects of his choice. Now it continues to say, the president shall, in each case, act in accordance with the recommendations of the committee. So what you hear the president say is that, yes, he acknowledges that this process is ongoing, and what he's now waiting for is the fact that he's waiting for the committee to make its recommendations that will be contained in the report. Right. Now, when that recommendations are made, the provision says that the president shall act in accordance with the recommendations of the committee.
The emphasis on the shall.
Shall. And he was talking to the Council of States, the people with whom he consulted at the beginning of this matter, to make the determination of the prima facie case based on which the matter was referred to the committee and all that. So that's why you hear him say that since they were part of this process, he's only mentioning to them that he's now expecting that report, and then we'll see what the next line of action is. And as I indicated, the next line of action when the report is ready or the recommendations are ready is what is provided for under Article 1469 of the 1992 Constitution.
That's what you have behind you.
Yeah.
Some great detail there. Dennis Pabari-Wadamesco, I appreciate you as always, walking us through the process and making it simple to understand.
Thank you for having me, Alfred.
Appreciate you. Now, let's stay a bit further on this. And Kwekwansa Sari is a private legal practitioner and then also the former director of the Ghana School of Law. He's joining us on the telephone for a quick conversation. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you for joining us. I mean, how does this strike you, this latest decision by Her Ladyship Justice Tokono to take her issues to the ECOWAS court to seek justice for what she says is the violation of her human rights by this entire process to have her removed?
Oh, thank you. I think that the Chief Justice is now holding on to just anything, that will come their way. The ECOWAS Community Court indeed has jurisdiction to hear either cases bordering on violations of individual human rights. But the point is that the ECOWAS Community Court is a creature of the ECOWAS community pursuant to their own protocols and treaties. And the first thing, presumptively, is that the ECOWAS Community Court will respect, the laws of member states. And one of the laws, the member states, is respect for each other's, sovereignty. Indeed, the Lady Chief Justice, may take cases, to any court, even, go to the World Court, the Hague, anywhere. But the primary question is, has she exhausted, all the internal mechanisms here in Ghana? This is something that I find very difficult to understand. She's the Chief Justice. She has to respect the Article 146 CJ removal process. If she herself is disrespecting, the Article 146 CJ removal process, how does she expect the ECOWAS Community Court to intervene? Because first of all, they may, like to find out whether, there are any internal mechanisms in Ghana available. Are there remedies? Are there justiciable remedies? Now, this is a process that has been triggered under a constitution promulgated by the people, of Ghana for themselves, for the good governance of, the entire nation. She is the Chief Justice. And if she is not, prepared and willing to respect, own constitution, how does she expect ECOWAS, to intervene to protect her? I don't think that, the case is going to succeed. This is, again, one of the, cases with the dimmest prospect of success. It's doomed to failure, because the ECOWAS court, indeed, it's a well-respected international adjudicatory body. But if you look at, what it has done in the past, it has, not simply interfered, with the internal processes. It only assumes jurisdiction in clear cases of violation of human rights. Here, I can't find any, human rights violation, perpetrated against Chief Justice Ocansey. I think once again, it's a very bad approach.
If you say it's a very bad approach, and from you indicate that the ECOWAS court would only pay attention to such matters if they, per their own consideration, the person who's brought the case to them has exhausted all internal avenues for redress, or, as it were, remedy. But from where you sit, would you say that the suspended Chief Justice has not exhausted all the internal avenues for redress or the remedy to this situation of what she says, the violation of her human rights, because she's taking the matter to the Supreme Court? It didn't go through. This injunction didn't succeed. She's at the High Court now seeking a judicial review as well. What else has not been done internally?
Again, you see, the office of Chief Justice is not, an individual's personal property. So this matter is not a personal matter. This is a constitutional process. Article 146 has been triggered by virtue of the submission of petitions to His Excellency, the President of the Republic. In every step taken, the President has respected the Constitution and actually acted in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. There has been no clear case of violation of any human rights of Lady Ocansey. The President has not breached any rule. If anything at all, the President has observed, the framework, that the framers of the Constitution put in place, that if you receive a petition, these are the constitutional steps you should take. And on each pathway, you have to respect, the will of the people as enshrined in the Constitution. The President has done that. It is the Chief Justice who has created a condition of, rendering the process, impracticable. Today, she does this. Tomorrow, she goes to Abidjan. Another time, she'll go to Togo and this thing. So, if you create conditions, that, render it impossible, to hear the case, the case or the petitions brought before the committee set up by the President in consultation with the Council of State, then it is she who is, rendering, the pathway intractable, not the President, not the people of Ghana. So she must allow, the constitutional process already triggered by the President, pursuant to the submission of the petitions, to, go to completion. Once the processes are determined judicially in accordance, with the framework spelled out clearly in Article 146, then and only then can one determine whether human rights have been violated or not. The ECOWAS Community Court has, on a number of occasions, dismissed suits, filed by aggrieved persons. On, certain occasions, it has, allowed, suits. But in all these things, the question is, have you exhausted the internal remedies provided by your own law?
Right. And I do appreciate your thoughts on this. And as I indicated, this new development is also attracting divergent views on whether or not this would go through or receive the attention of the ECOWAS court. Kwekwansas, I appreciate your time. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. He is a former director of the Ghana School of Law, and also Professor Kojo Apieje-Etia, who is a professor of law at the University of Ghana Law School. He's watching us right now. He says, for the ECOWAS Court of Justice, you don't need to exhaust local remedies. One of the few courts with such structures. Thank you. So Professor Apieje also holds a different perspective to the position as espoused by Kwekwansas Sarri as well. And as I indicated, this is one that we're going to spend some time on as well as we go on in the coming days here on Ghana Tonight, especially because this matter has not ended yet. There are pending cases internally, and now that it's gone externally as well, how will that play out? Stay with us here on Ghana Tonight. But coming up next, let's go into the matters of politics, because the New Patriotic Party has announced a boycott of the Electoral Commission's decision to rerun parliamentary elections in 19 polling stations in Ablekuma North. They insist that they will not participate in what they describe as a shameful decision by the Electoral Commission to rerun these elections in the 19 polling stations in the Ablekuma North constituency. This is on the 11th of July, which is some 3 days away, this coming Friday. Now, while the New Patriotic Party 2024 parliamentary candidate for the Ablekuma North constituency, Nanekwe Wusu-Efriye, is in court. She's seeking to quash the decision of the Electoral Commission to rerun the Ablekuma North parliament elections in the 19 polling stations. The party says it will not participate in the elections. The party is insisting that their candidate, Nanekwe Wusu-Efriye, won that election with a margin of 414 votes. Now, keep that in mind, 414 votes. That's the verdict of the NPP, that their candidate won, and that the Electoral Commission's decision to rerun the elections is unjust, lacks proper legal grounding, is shameful. Justin Frimpong Kodia is the General Secretary of the NPP. He addressed a press conference earlier today, giving details of the party's position. Take a look.
Under the law, it is only a court of competent jurisdiction that can order a rerun of elections duly conducted by the Electoral Commission. So the Electoral Commission has no power, no authority to determine a rerun for Ablekuma North, except by the court. Except by the court. In any case, we have evidence that some of these presiding officers, and where they verify the results from their polling stations, violation of rule of law. We owe it to our dear country Ghana and prosperity to rise above our parochial or partisan considerations in order to defend our democratic gains. We in the NPP shall stop at nothing in our quest to ensure that the powers that must be respected and upheld by the democratic right and sovereignty of the good people of Ablekuma North, as expressed by them on 7th December 2024, is upheld. And therefore, we have caused our legal directorate to challenge the Electoral Commission in court. And today, we shall file in court to challenge the arbitrary, the capricious, the whimsical directive by the Electoral Commission in court. And it is our prayer that in spite of the intimidation and victimization of our judges, we will get a good judge who will be firm and speak for the truth. When the truth speaks, certainly we will be vindicated. And our candidate will be declared the winner of Ablekuma North.
So this was a press conference that Justin Frimpong Kodia addressed last week. The decision by the party to challenge this decision by the Electoral Commission to rerun the elections in the 19 polling stations in court. Now, this they had indicated, the Electoral Commission indicated that on the 11th of July, which is just some 3 days away from today, Now, I tell you that this particular decision also now is being challenged not just by the New Patriotic Party in court. They are also having the parliamentary candidate for the party in the Ablekuma North constituency. Yesterday, we got notice that she has sought a court order to quash the decision by the Electoral Commission to rerun the Ablekuma North parliamentary elections in the 19 polling stations. These are the grounds for the order. Take a look at this. It says she is committed, according to the Electoral Commission, to her, the Electoral Commission has committed a grave administrative error when it failed to comply with the ruling orders of the High Court to collate and declare the winner of the parliamentary elections in the Ablekuma North constituency. She's also indicating that the Electoral Commission acted in excess of jurisdiction when it decided to rerun 19 out of the 281 polling stations in the Ablekuma North constituency in the absence of any order, the court order vacating and/or overturning a subsisting High Court judgment on the 4th of January, and then also the decision of the respondent to rerun 19 out of the 81, that's the decision of the Electoral Commission essentially, to rerun 19 out of the 281 polling stations in the Ablekuma North constituency is arbitrary, capricious, unreasonable, and wrongful exercise of discretionary power. Now, today, the party addressed a press conference. So beyond the decision to challenge this in court, they say, look, they are not going to waste their resources to even participate in the decision by the Electoral Commission to rerun the elections in the 19 polling stations on Friday. This is the General Secretary of the party, again, earlier today, addressing the press. Take a look.
The Ghana police is supposed to provide security. The court never said, go and do a rerun. We decided to go back to the court. Because what the Electoral Commission is doing is contempt of court. We're able to collate almost all the polling station results in Ablekuma North, leaving only 3. And therefore, even with respect to a letter that I wrote to the Electoral Commission on the 3rd of June, asking about the update of Ablekuma North, whereby the Electoral Commission confirmed to the New Patriotic Party that indeed it is left with only 3 polling stations. Again, the Electoral Commission, led by Deputy Commissioner Dr. Bosman, under oath went to Parliament and also confirmed same that so far as they are aware and so far as they know, it is only left with 3 polling stations at Ablekuma North. And therefore, it comes as very shocking that the Electoral Commission, the inconsistency from the Electoral Commission is a shame. But for us in the New Patriotic Party, we remain resolute. And we know that our candidate, Nana Ekuye-Free, won the elections with a margin of 414 votes.
We'll come to that margin that Justin Frimpong-Kodia talks about. And Rashid Tanko Computer is Deputy Director of IT and Elections for the NDC. He's joining us on Zoom right now. Appreciate you connecting with us. Now, the NPP says, if you can hear me, Tanko, the NPP says they are not going to be part of what they describe as an illegality, a decision taken by the Electoral Commission to rerun the elections in these 19 polling stations in the Ablekuma North constituency on Friday. Says, well, you can go ahead and do that as the NDC. That should be some refreshing news for you, is it not?
Alfred, let me say good evening to you and your cherished viewers. Alfred, we are ready for the election come 11th, Friday. As I speak to you now, I'm just coming from an engagement with the electorate in Ablekuma North, the 19 polling station. In fact, we had a very beautiful engagement tonight led by our venerable national chairman, Honorable Asedu Nketia, and other party leaders. We had serious engagement with them. We are preparing for the election. We want to give MPP a befitting defeat come Friday. Look, Alfred, they are not telling Ghanaians the truth, and we must face it. Alfred, you remember all along, we as a party, the NDC, we've been talking about 62 polling stations, outstanding 62 polling stations. We had 2 major meetings with the Electoral Commission, of which the MPP fully participated. In the last 2-but-1 meeting, it came out that out of the 62 polling stations, 25, the MPP had carbon copies. But let's set it straight. The Electoral Commission doesn't have even one single pink sheet out of the numbers that we are talking of. We, the NDC, we also said we didn't have ours because we lost it during the violence. The MPP came with 25 carbon copies out of the 62. That is why it came down to 37 polling stations, because we agreed, because we want solution to the matter. So we didn't want to litigate that one. We said, fine, since the 25 were carbon copies, it's a true reflection of what happened. So we agree, take it out. So they took out the 25, leaving 37. Alfred.
No, but yes, but you see, the position of Justin Frimpong-Kodia, who addressed the press today, is that it was only three polling station results that were outstanding. And the Electoral Commission Deputy Chair, Dr. Bosman Asari, corroborated that in Parliament.
That is not a true reflection. I'm saying
Parliament.
That
so are you saying that what Dr. Bosman Asari said in Parliament wasn't a true reflection of what the issues were?
That is not it, Alfred. We had a meeting with them. And in that meeting, it was there that it came out that, look, the 37 polling stations, only 18 polling stations results were being authenticated by the presiding officers. Don't mind you, they were scanned copies. They were not carbon copies. So these 18 that the Electoral Commission brought on that day said these 18, their presiding officers came and authenticated them and agreed that, yes, these results were ours. We did it, but we don't have the carbon copy or the original. So what the MPP brought, we agreed to that. But 19 of them, nobody could authenticate it. All the 19, nobody. They were all scanned copies. So the Electoral Commission, and we were also reluctant to even accept the 18, but because we wanted resolution to this matter, we said, fine, take out the 18. Because they believe that their presiding officers authenticated them, take them out.
And the results on the 18 carbon copies, who was it in favor of? Is it the MPP or the NDC candidate?
It was across both NDC, MPP. NDC won some, and MPP also won some.
I see.
And these were brought by the MPP. The one we are talking are all MPP scanned copies. But because the 18 presiding officers came and authenticated them, we said we want a resolution to get Ablekuma North matter resolved. So we agreed and asked that the 19 left, then we go for a rerun. So all the commissioners were there, the 2 deputies plus Madam Jean Mensah. So and their director of election and a former MP who represented them, they were at that meeting.
There was a meeting
and that is why we're saying that they are not telling people the truth.
I see. So there was a meeting on the 2nd of June, right? And it's this meeting that you reference. Dr. Bosman Asari subsequently went to Parliament. And so if there was this kind of conversation and a resolution at the meeting before he went to Parliament, why did he go to say that a rerun was not an option on the table for the Electoral Commission in Ablekuma North?
That is why I'm saying that there was a tactical mistake from the Electoral Commission. Because the meeting we held before the decision was that these 37, go back, meet all the commissioners, and take a decision on it before reporting back to us. So they agreed that they were now going to conclave to have a meeting over these 37 polling stations. At that time, we hadn't reached agreement on the 18. Then we said, fine, we will wait for your decision at conclave. Then we will now come and judge about the matter and take a decision. Lo and behold, we heard that Dr. Bosman was in Parliament. So when he was presenting it in Parliament, we said, but what kind of thing is this? Because you had to revert to us, take a final decision before you report. So we hadn't taken that decision before he went to Parliament and was making that statement. So he made his own statement. It wasn't a statement from IPAC meeting that was supposed to take a decision on this matter.
I see. So then, they say that per what they have, Naneke Friye, their candidate, won by some 414 votes. And that's what they want to go with. And so they are not going to take part in the elections. Tango.
Alfred, let me tell you, we are ready for the election. This is not the first time a political party is boycotting a rerun or a by-election. I can give you countless number. I've been in this business for a very long time. Look, we did a by-election at Ejisu. Did NDC participate? We didn't participate. They went and had the election and elected their own candidate. Ayawasu, West Wagon, by-election. When they beat the hell out of us, we abandoned the election. We boycotted it midway. They continued the election and elected their lady. Did we say anything wrong with that? So if they decide not to go for the election this one, that's their cup of tea. We will not abandon it. We will make sure that we go for the election and elect the candidate that Ablekuma North people want to represent them in parliament. And I can assure you, Erwabna is going to win with a massive victory. Massive victory. Because we are not lenting. Look, as I'm speaking to you, I'm just coming from the rally ground. We are doing door to door and we are making sure that we sensitize the people, let them understand why they should vote for Erwabna. And that's what we are going to do. So if they don't want to participate in that upcoming rerun, that is their cup of tea. We are not possible, but we would have wished that they participate so that we can hand them a huge defeat. But it's unfortunate they are running away
But
from
there's a
it.
constituency that the MPP, there's a constituency that the MPP has won since 1996. And so, really, what gives you that conviction and the confidence that this is going to be a win for you this time around?
Alfred, in 2024, the last general elections, we've never won certain constituency since 1996. As we speak now, we won not less than 20 of such constituencies. So Ablekuma North is not an exception. We are going to sweep it because we've now known their strategy and we are playing them according to their own game.
What's the game?
And I'm telling you that
what's the game?
Ablekuma North people are yearning for a Rabna and we are going to win. We want to have a clean win. That is why we are asking that, look, come, let's go and have the contest. 19 polling stations. It shouldn't be a difficulty. We are abiding by all the processes. We have not violated any process whatsoever as a political party. And we are going by the ethics of the game. We have not violated anything whatsoever. Where are they getting the figures from? They are quoting figures which they went and sat down and designed their own scam copies and brought them, expecting the Electoral Commission to use that one to declare them as winners. That's why we resisted. And all along, that has been our position. We have not changed. Because we are magnanimous, we accepted the 19. Otherwise, this 18 so would have challenged it.
Well, we'll see.
But because we want a peaceful resolution of the matter.
In the next 72 hours, we'll see. By close of day Friday, by this time, we'll know exactly what the outcome will be if the elections takes place. And I say if because of all of this, the action by Nana Ekefrie to injunct the entire process, or as it were, have the courts make a pronouncement on the decision by the Electoral Commission to conduct the rerun of the elections in the 19 polling stations on Friday. Rashid Tanko Computer, appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And we remain your Election Command Center. He's the Deputy Director of IT and Elections for the NDC. We're back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us here on Ghana Tonight because we're getting to an analysis of the 6 months of President John Dramani Mahama as President of the Republic of Ghana. And the focus is on the fight against corruption. You have also taken part in this entire exercise with the polls that we put on our social media handles. We'll be back shortly. We'll tell you the results. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. Coming up next, how has the John Dramani Mahama-led government fared when it comes to the fight against corruption in the last 6 months, or in the first 6 months of his second term as president of the Republic of Ghana? Now, we stayed the steam on the assessment of the president's performance from the lenses of the citizens. Now, what we intend to do here on TV3 and here on Ghana Tonight is first to carry the analysis of the president's performance in the last 6 months, or the first 6 months of his second term as president of the Republic of Ghana, in different layers. The first layer of the analysis is going to be from you, the citizens, you Ghanaian people, our perspective of the president's performance. We'll lift the second layer to the analysts, the CSOs, and the experts as well in the specific sectors of the economy. So yesterday, we started a conversation about Galamsey, illegal mining, and we had a conversation with the CSOs and as well as the Forestry Commission. Forestry Commission instructive because it's a critical agency when it comes to the fight against illegal mining. We threw a question to you on our social media handles. Thousands of you took part in the conversation, and want to say thank you for that, because this is one that we're going to be doing a lot more in the coming days. So keep an eye on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, on X, and then also on YouTube, so that you can be part of the conversation. How would you assess the president's performance on the fight against Galamsey in the first 6 months of his administration? 20.3% of you said terrible. 36.1% of you say impressive. 33.5% of you say just okay. Well, about 10% of you say, well, you don't have an opinion. But then again, you see how things are playing out. In fact, there's a consistent call for the abolition of LI 2462 to be repealed from our books. And then also the other demands that the CSOs are making. You heard the assurances from the Forestry Commission, what they are doing to ensure that this fight is won. The Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, some measures that have been put in place. Also today we heard further measures upon the launch or and also unveiling of the task force by the Gold Board. The president also gave more details about citizens getting involved in the fight against illegal mining with some reward scheme as well. So we'll see how that will work in the coming days. But then that's not the only question we have. This was specifically on X. But then again, we also put out a question on why this is of major concern, especially to you. And then the next question was on this fight against corruption. That's going to put out on the screen right now. How would you assess the president's performance on the fight against corruption in the first 6 months of his administration? 63.8% of you say impressive. 24.6% of you say it's just okay. And 6.5% of you say terrible. And 5.1% of you say, well, you don't have any opinion. We've seen a number of measures put in place. The National Anti-Corruption Strategy Phase 2 committee has been put together, adored just about a week ago. And then also we have seen the Operation Recover All Loot preparatory team do their work, presented a report, the Attorney General executing details and investigating some of the cases. A number of the cases that have been put before court, we have seen them as well play out, and the consistent updates by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayene, and his deputy, Dr. Justice Shremsai, as well. A number of cases that are actually going through different phases of prosecution as we speak. So this is the verdict of you, the people, when it comes to the president's fight against, or this administration's fight against corruption in the last 6 months, or the first 6 months of his administration. And as I indicated, this is going to be a continuous exercise, so please make some time, visit TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on X, and let your voice be heard through these posts that we do. Now, on the matter of the National Cathedral, which is also one of the issues that the Operation Recover All Loot oral team also captured in their report, and the Attorney General also gave updates as well on the National Cathedral, how this 58 over $58 million that was sunk in there is going to be retrieved. And we paid a visit to the cathedral site. My colleague Jackson was there not to pray, but also to give an update on what the state of affairs is at the National Cathedral site. This is what we saw earlier today. This is how the National Cathedral site looks like. There's no activity. Rainwater has been collected and as expected because it's been raining over the period, and the place has been barricaded. And then also, as we see now, there's clear indication of no work taking place at this cathedral site. Fundamental question is, what next in terms of investigation and the possible retrieval of the said monies sunk into this project, National Cathedral? And the Attorney General, the last press conference, gave an indication of how far his office has gone with the investigations into the National Cathedral project. Take a look. I will call that in a bit, and as we tell you as well, that you should keep an eye on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, specifically the post that we'll put out there so that you can share your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions with us, and let us have you share your thoughts. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your company. Join us same time tomorrow for another conversation. My name is Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint, superior durability.